It's quite a big honor presiding over all the African squash playing countries. That's a big honor. There's quite a number of objectives that we intend to achieve. During the election campaign, I had a manifesto which had 9 points, and that was the basis of my campaign. And if I can just go quickly through those 9 points. The first one was to create a solid and sustainable working relationship through collaborating with member nations. That was something that I was already doing over the years. And what it has done is that I've just continued on that route. And then the second item on the manifesto was to strive for the implementation of best practices by learning from the mother body WSF, PSA, and other regional federations. I'm also working quite hand in hand with the Pan-American Federation. Then the third was to develop a strategic plan. We definitely need a roadmap. We are working on one. We've just had our first executive committee meeting, and we are already working on a strategic plan, but we will not move fast because the WSF is currently working on their strategic plan, which is 2021 to 2025. So what we intend to do is that we have to align our roadmap to the one that is being done by the WSF. So we will wait a bit, but we've already got plans to work on that. And the fourth item that I looked at was to develop a good governance system where we will have audited accounts on an annual basis. We had our last AGM, the accounts were not audited, but the treasurer did promise us that in 21 days, we should have audited accounts. And it is my aim that we have audited accounts on an annual basis. We have not had audited accounts, I think, in the last 8 years. And it is my hope that we have audited accounts and other governance issues are also adhered to. Then the fifth item was to resurrect and promote our marquee events. The All Africa Juniors and Seniors, these, when I joined the Squash Federation of Africa, these were annual events, but we haven't had any of those since 2015. And it is my fervent hope that we will resurrect those next year. Zimbabwe has already put in a bid to host the seniors, and Mauritius hopefully will host the All Africa Juniors. And the sixth item was to increase the financial stability. I had indicated that by April, we should have about 13 paid up member countries. By 2020, SFA had really hit rock bottom, and we only had 4 paid up countries, but I did a lot of groundwork, and by April we had 13 countries, and my aim was that by June we will have 20 countries paid up, but I realized that dream just before the AGM. We had already 20 countries. So my aim again is to put another benchmark, which should be by end of July. We should have at least 30 paid up countries in Africa. And obviously that increases our revenue. And we are also looking not only at membership subscriptions and the money that we get from spin, but we are looking at getting other avenues like getting sponsorship on our website, which we are working on. And we are really looking at operating on a commercial basis. And then the seventh item was to increase the number of coaches and referees. We are following quite closely the WSO, which is the World Squash Officiating Program, and we intend to have quite a number of qualified referees. We do have referees and coaches in Africa, but most of the highly qualified ones are in South Africa and Egypt, but we would like that to be spread to all corners of Africa. And then the seventh item was to increase capacity and diversity through the promotion of Squash 57. I've actually been in touch with my good friends, Patrick Osborne and Lolly Gillan. And we've talked about this. I've attended one of their webinars, and it is my hope that we will have quite a number of African countries playing Squash 57. Currently, we just have about 3 countries that are playing the sport. And then the last item that was on my manifesto was the lobbying of the inclusion of squash in multi-sports. Ghana will be hosting the All Africa Games. It's now called the Africa Games in 2023. We've already made strides to take squash to be part of the sports there. We are already negotiating with the local organizing committee and the bigger organization, the Olympic Committee that is in charge of these games. So basically that is my vision and strategy going forward. Yes, actually I have been the chairman of the Squash Rackets of Zimbabwe since 2012. And that's quite a long period. And then I've also been the vice president of Squash Federation of Africa. And this will be my 8th year. And besides that, the other aspect is that I'm also into international officiating. I've refereed at almost all levels of squash, starting from club level, national level. I've refereed at the regional level. Apparently, I was actually the championship referee from 2012 for all the Africa Games. And then I've also refereed at the men's team world championship in Germany, France. I've refereed there. And I was also the tournament referee at the World Juniors in Namibia. And then I've also refereed at the PSA level. So in terms of experience, I would say I do have a wealth of experience in the squash area. I think the only aspect that I haven't touched is the coaching side. But I have coached quite a number of people who've never even touched a racket. So my wealth of experience is quite huge. What we've decided is the Squash Federation of Africa is to get to rebrand Squash Federation of Africa. And what that will entail is that we've come up with a logo, an appealing logo. And what we've also done is that we've interpreted actually our constitution into French. We've always heard it in English, but then when we realized that there are some Francophone countries that are now members, we said it was an opportune time for us to interpret the constitution into French. So what it means is that people should be able to read the constitution in their language. Should there be need for us to interpret it in 2 or more languages, we will certainly do that. And on Facebook, we are quite active on Facebook. The website has not been very active. It has been more of a dormant website, but we've got an IT specialist from Sierra Leone who is now working on the website. All we are doing is to make the sport be known in all corners of Africa. So I will be traveling extensively as well. There are countries that they've never played a squash officially. We're talking of countries like Mozambique, Angola. I've already been in touch with them, and they are willing to join Squash Federation of Africa. And then once with all the countries, we know the other challenge that is there is the challenge of resources. We've come up with 5 committees in the last 2 weeks that we've been in office. We've already constituted 5 committees. I'll just quickly go through them again. The first one being the Ethics and Compliance Committee. The second one being the Commercial and Business Development Committee. And this committee is quite important for the organization in the sense that these are the guys that will go out to the corporate world and convince that squash is a good sport and a healthy sport. And we need money. we need resources. There are countries that cannot even afford squash balls, squash rackets, but we would like them to get the resources. We will need to help them. The third committee is the Finance and Audit Committee. This is the committee that will obviously look at the finances once they are there. And the fourth one being the IT and marketing. IT marketing, I've just talked about the expert who's in Sierra Leone. He's in charge of that. That again will also be involved in the marketing of the sport to all corners of Africa. And then the last committee that we have is the Championship and Development Committee. This is also a very important committee in the sense that it will look into the issues of the championship, the games that we will host, and it will look at the important aspect, which is development. Squash has got to be developed from the grassroots, and we are trying to do that by engaging schools where we can teach them the sport of squash. The COVID-19 pandemic has actually affected squash adversely. I'll give you an example of Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, all sports were suspended for some time, and squash was actually classified as a medium risk sport. There were sports that were classified as low risk, sports like swimming, tennis, darts, those were classified as low risk, but squash was put in the medium risk. And as a result, the other sports that were in the low risk category were allowed to resume earlier than squash. Yes, we have been affected. We know there are quite a number of coaches that earn a living through squash. For instance, in Zimbabwe, they do coach at schools, at clubs, and they earn a living, and they were affected by that. And unfortunately, the government fund that was allocated for such cases was not sufficient enough. So we have been affected adversely. And right now, as I indicated earlier, that we are now on lockdown with effect from yesterday. And what that means is that for Zimbabwe, we were looking at sending a team to the men's team world championships in Malaysia later this year. We just hope that we will talk to our Ministry of Sports and have the sport allowed to resume so that we are able to participate. We know other countries like Egypt, they have been playing squash with quite a number of restrictions. And our neighbors as well, Botswana and South Africa, they have also been playing with quite some stringent conditions attached to the resumption.
And your new role as president comes following the passing of previous President Hany Hamouda earlier this year, following a battle with COVID-19. How much of an impact did Hany have on squash in the region?
Hany was a very good man. I worked very well with him. I was one of the 3 vice presidents that were under him. Yes, he was a man of influence. We worked together, and I learned quite a lot from him. And what I'm doing is just carrying forward from where he left. And as Squash Federation of Africa, we've decided to honor him. We are trying to organize a juniors tournament, possibly this year in Cairo. And that tournament will be in honor of the late Hany Hamouda. I'm so glad that the executive committee is a team of guys with diversified skills and brains. I've worked with the Vice President South, Diego Rabasha. We've worked together since 2004. And Adam Arena as well, I've worked with him. He's been the Vice President of West, and he still is. The new executive committee that I have not worked with is the Secretary General Richmond Kwaku from Ghana, and Ida Alexander from Rwanda. They are new, but already we are clicking very well, and I'm quite glad that I've got a good team that will give me all the support. Yes, you are talking about 6 to 10 months. We are already looking at the first 100 days in the office. We want to achieve quite a lot. What I've talked about, the 9 points, the vision and strategy in my manifesto, we intend to achieve those in the first 100 days. So we are not even looking at 6 months. We had our first meeting 2 weeks ago. And when I said to the guys, are we going to have monthly or quarterly meetings? The guys said, no, we are starting and we need to hit the ground running. So the guys said, we'll have meetings every 2 weeks. So we are having our second meeting this Friday. And in between these 2 weeks, we've achieved quite a lot. So I wouldn't say 6 months, but judge us in the first 100 days. I'd like to share, I've just indicated that we've already constituted 5 committees. I know with the WSF, there are 19 committees, which they call commissions, but we are calling ours committees. We've constituted 5, looking at the number of countries that we have. We've only got 20. And as we move on and get more countries joining, we can now constitute more committees. And what we've also done is that we have included almost every leader that is in squash playing countries in Africa. From the 20 countries, every leader will be in one committee or another. So that again shows that people are willing to work together. They are willing to unite and achieve quite a lot. I think that is what I can say about the new Squash Federation of Africa.